Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sandusky Library's Selling Items Online virtual series. My name is Carly, and I will be your host for each of these programs. And we are going to be having 4 separate programs about selling your items online. And each one can be used, you can use all of them, you can use some of them, you can just choose one that you would like to use. I think over the last few months, a lot of us have found ourselves in our homes a little bit more, and maybe you've been cleaning out and getting rid of some things, and you would like a place to sell those items. And so I hope that this is helpful to you and gives you a good starting point for using some of these different websites and apps. And so today we're going to be focusing on Facebook Marketplace. And before we go ahead on to that, I just want to tell you where to find the videos. So each of the videos will be posted on the Sandusky Library Facebook page and our YouTube channel on the dates mentioned on the previous slide at 7 p.m. And then the videos will remain up after that date and time, so you can watch them anytime you want. You can go back and review a specific section if you need some help. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notified when those new videos are available. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to get into Facebook Marketplace today. Many of you may already be familiar with Facebook Marketplace, but it is a way to buy and sell things locally directly through Facebook. There's no fee to list items. There's no fee once you sell an item. So that's one of the big differences between Facebook Marketplace and some of the other places that we'll be talking about, because the other sites do have various fees, whether it's a selling fee or a listing fee or both in some cases. You do have to have a Facebook account in order to buy and sell there. And I've linked to a couple of articles here that give you some more information about Facebook Marketplace, what it is, how to use it, tips and tricks, that kind of thing. So we may reference the one especially from Facebook a little bit later, but you can check out either one of those to get more information, to read up on do's and don'ts and things like that. All right, so you can sell your things directly on Facebook Marketplace. And then there are also various groups on Facebook as well. And in a few minutes after we kind of do the overview, I will be showing you some of these things live on Facebook so that you can see what they actually look like. And then I'm also going to be walking you through the process of listing some items on Facebook. So in addition to Facebook Marketplace, there are lots and lots of groups that you can use to sell your items. Some of those examples include the Perkins Sandusky online garage sales, Erie County, Ohio online garage sale. There are quite a few. There are others in Huron County, other locations. I know there is one that is strictly for furniture in our area. These are people that are just looking for furniture items or selling furniture items. It doesn't have, all of the other odds and ends. And you will find, and again, I'll show you here in a minute, there are just all kinds of things that you can search for as a buyer on Facebook. And really, there's a huge variety available. If you have specialty items, you can also find groups for those on Facebook as well. Typically, those are going to require shipping, so keep that in mind when joining a group. A lot of people like Marketplace because you don't have to worry about the shipping. You're not going to have to, maybe have a PayPal account or get a postal scale or things like that. But in the same token, if you have specialty items that are, worth money, you're going to find that these specialty groups are going to be better places to try and list those items. I collect vintage Pyrex. If you've ever come to one of my programs before, I talk a lot about this because it's a good example. You are going to have a lot more luck selling vintage Pyrex in a Pyrex specific group. There are people that are looking for very specific items, and they're going to be willing to pay because they collect those items. And so that's something to keep in mind. Some other examples, my daughter dances. We have a ballet tutu that we purchased through Facebook. It was through a ballet costume specific group, and when she is finished using it, that is where I will sell it as well. And so it's worth doing a little bit of research and doing a search and kind of seeing what groups are available. One of the other cool things that you can do, Marketplace does allow you to cross post your items to groups when you're selling. So for example, I'll show you this in a minute, but when you go to list an item, you start with Marketplace and then you can select the other groups that you want to list that same item. The hardest part is just keeping track of the items in multiple groups and Marketplace. It becomes difficult, for example, let's say you list an item and you decide to drop the price, you do have to go through and individually drop the price in multiple groups. It doesn't just automatically reduce that price across the board. Same thing, you want to make sure that you pay attention and you do mark things sold because otherwise you will continue to get interest and requests from people as to whether the item is available. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to just talk briefly about how you list items. So you are going to go ahead and choose the items that you want to sell. I think in general, you're going to do better with bigger ticket items. Um, if you have small items, I think putting them into little groups or lots, for example, if you are selling girls' clothing, if you have several items that are all a size 10, a girl size 10, I would say put those items together. It's going to make less work for you. And I think you'd be more likely to sell because you would be able to put those items together and someone else would be getting, a good deal and you'd be clearing out those items and also getting paid for them as opposed to, one item that you're listing for $1 or $2 or $3 a piece. Make sure your items are clean and they're working as well as they possibly can. You may be selling things for parts, which is fine, but test your items, see how it works. And then you're going to photograph your items. I still am a little bit old school, and you'll see this here in a little bit. I do most of my listing and photographing. I have a regular camera. I take the photographs, I transfer the photos to the computer, and then I list from a desktop, or it's actually a laptop, but a real computer as opposed to a phone. But you can list directly from your phone, and it's extremely simple. And a lot of people have amazing phones that take great photos. Photos are important. You want to make sure to take good, clear photographs, make sure people can see what you are selling. If there are flaws, if there's something wrong with your item, you want to take a photograph. You want to be upfront and let people know, and so they can feel confident that you are being truthful about what you're selling and the condition that the item is in. Next, you're going to write a description. You do have to put a title for your item as well, and you want to be specific with your description. I think the more information you can give, the better. You're still going to get questions from people, but the more information you can provide, the better. I mean, you don't have to go overboard and make it, several paragraphs, but list measurements if it is a piece of furniture. So somebody can say, hey, does this fit in the space that I have? Again, if there are flaws or issues, you want to disclose that. One thing that I always ask is whether an item is from a non-smoking home. So if that's the case, I would go ahead and just share that information up front. And then you're going to decide on a price. There's a couple ways that you can do this with price, and I will show you a website that I like to use just for doing research, but you can do a little bit of searching on Facebook Marketplace itself to try and figure out what other people are selling similar items for. The website I'm going to show you is called Check a Flip, and I will show that to you. And it just gives you a ballpark. The other thing I kind of always plan on is I almost always expect for a person to want to negotiate. And so I kind of, in my mind, will set a price that I want to sell an item for and maybe list it two, three, $5 more, depending on the item, just so I have that wiggle room because most of the time people do want to negotiate a little bit. And then at that point, you're just going to say list your item. So it's not a difficult process. Um, Once the item is listed, I didn't write a slide about this, but once the item is listed, there's going to be a couple of different ways that you're going to get notified that people are interested. If you put your item in a Facebook group, people might leave a comment. They might ask a question. They might say that they're interested. They might say sold, something like that. The other way that you're going to be contacted is through Facebook Messenger. And you will get those messages directly from the buyer. And again, you're going to get maybe questions or interest or things like that. And one thing that I like to do, and this does kind of go into our safety considerations, when you get a message from somebody, you're going to want to take a look at that person's profile that you are selling to or buying from. It usually will tell you, the commerce profile will show you if you have any mutual friends, any mutual interests or likes, things like that. It just gives you an idea about the person you're dealing with, also gives you an idea about their history on Facebook. You're not going to get a lot of information, but it helps when you're making decisions. With choosing who you want to purchase your item, it's okay to say, hey, this person, we have several mutual friends. I've heard of this person before, things like that. It's okay to make a decision. I feel comfortable selling to this person. That decision is really up to you. Your safety is paramount, is the most important. And then you're also going to want to choose a pickup or delivery method that you're comfortable with. A lot of people do porch pickup. They like it, especially if you're listening to this in real time. We're going through COVID, and a lot of people like the porch pickup because it is contactless. Personally, I don't always like porch pickup because I don't really want to give a stranger my address. And so that's something to kind of keep in mind. However, there have been people in the past that have either been my Facebook friend or we've had enough mutual acquaintances that I felt comfortable doing a porch pickup. It is very convenient. It's very, very nice not to have to set up a time to meet. I've had other times that I have purchased that the seller has just dropped the item off to me. It kind of shifts that balance a little bit, and they have left things on my porch. Another option would be to meet somewhere. Public places, parking lots that are frequently, have quite a bit of traffic, those are good places to meet. And if possible, take someone with you. If you can't, just picking that very public place is important. And so that is just a brief overview. I think it's important to trust your instincts too. Just kind of go with your gut feeling and make good decisions based on what you feel comfortable with. We're going to go ahead and stop this section, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at Facebook Marketplace, and I'm going to walk you through the process of doing some listing on Facebook. All right, so we are here on Facebook now, and we are going to take a look at Marketplace, what that looks like on Facebook. So again, I mentioned this, I am using this on a desktop. If you're using it on a mobile, it may be in a slightly different location where Marketplace is, but you can kind of see over here on the left side of the screen, we have Marketplace, and they do give top choices, I'm not always sure. I think it's somewhat based on your browsing history, but not completely. But if you look um, in the left-hand side, you have Browse, which is what we're on right now, Groups, Stores, Buying, Selling, and Saved Items. Right now, I have it set to 20 miles of 44870, but you can change that. Like if there's something in particular you are looking for, you can change the distance, make it farther, and things like that. There are different categories on the side you can see. For example, if we decide to go into home and garden, there are a variety of different categories of items that you can browse within home and garden. You can get into furniture that way, and then get down into even more specific the type of furniture. There's also clothing and accessories, and you can also filter that down even more. It's good to take some time and just familiarize yourself with how Facebook Marketplace looks, and even some of the abbreviations and things like that. As I'm looking through, I noticed there was one that said porch pickup. Let me see if I can find that. I think it was up a little farther. Okay, so like for example, these tennis shoes over here says no holds porch pickup Huron. There's the price. So they let you know that that is how they want to have you pick up the item. Let's say you're interested in jewelry specifically, and maybe you want to look at watches. So here are some examples of the items. And it actually, if you notice, if there aren't items within your 20 miles, they do expand out, because if you look, these are not within 20 miles, but they said, hey, maybe if you really want a certain kind of watch, you'd be willing to travel a little bit to find your item. So that just gives you kind of a look through of what Marketplace looks like in general. Now we talked about specific groups that you can go to. So I searched up in the search bar for garage sale, and you can see that there are many different groups. Erie County Online, Ohio Online, Perkins Sandusky, Erie Huron, and Sandusky Huron and Erie. This is a no close one. You can kind of take a look. There's a wide variety of garage sale sites. You can join lots of them. So if you are very motivated and want to get rid of a lot of things, the more places you cross post, the more things you're going to be able to sell. I mentioned that I do collect vintage Pyrex. For example, this one is specifically Michigan Pyrex for sale and trade. Pyrex collectors in Pennsylvania and New York. Sometimes people will try to make it a little more regional so that either you can meet somewhere that's kind of mutually close, or it's not as much money to ship. So you can kind of see that those are some examples. Here was one of the groups that I had gotten dance costumes from before. Let's see if I can get to it. It's not letting me go to it right now, but let's see here. Go back over here. Yeah. So this is actually not really a group, but this is where I got my daughter's tutu. So there are a variety of specialty groups. And so that's something that you kind of want to keep in mind when you are selling your items. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to walk you through the process of listing an item. We're going to go to Marketplace. I'm going to click on selling, and you're actually going to be able to see like all of the items that I currently have for sale. For example, I had mentioned the more places you list, you have to keep up with them. This 31 zipper pouch, I am going to actually mark as sold, and it asks, I'm going to say I sold it somewhere else. Next. And that's going to mark that sold so that nobody else can purchase that item. But yeah, you can kind of see what the listings look like. And I'm going to go ahead, it shows the sold items, and then we're going to go ahead and create a new listing. So I'm going to click on create a new listing. I'm going to click on item for sale, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add photos. And so let's see here. I am going to go to where I put these photos, and I cleaned out my craft cabinet on one of my days off, and I cleaned out some ribbon that I want to get rid of. I wasn't using it. I had it for quite a while, and so I took several pictures, and you can kind of see that I took pictures of the different spools, tried to get some close-ups of the size, the brand, how large, how much ribbon is on each spool, that kind of thing. So I am going to say this is assorted lot of craft ribbon, and I'm going to say that I want $6 for all 4 pieces. And I'm going to look at the categories. Let's see here. I was thinking perhaps home and garden, but then I started scrolling through, and I think that it would be more applicable to put it in hobbies and arts and crafts. And I'm going to go ahead and say used like new, because there's some like velvet ribbon that I have here that is off. It's not on a spool, but it was never used, so we do have quite a bit of it, but I'd prefer to say that instead of new. And I'm going to say offray because it looked like at least a couple of the spools were offray. All right, so I am going to say I have three full spools of ribbon, never used. And then I'm going to take a look. And then I'm going to have, let's see, 1 cut of black velvet ribbon, all from Non-Smoking Home. So I'm going to go ahead and then describe each of the spools and let them know what I have. So I actually measured the velvet ribbon, and I have 94 inches. And then let's see here. So I have light green paisley offray ribbon. It is 1.5 inches wide by 9 feet. And then let's see here. I'm going to say rainbow and black paisley leopard ribbon, and it's offray also. So, and it is, let's see here, it's 7/8 of an inch wide by 9 feet. And then we have red, white, and blue holiday inspirations ribbon, 1.5 inches wide by 9 feet. Then I'm going to say pick up Perkins Sandusky And then I'm going to go ahead and click next. And they would like you to ship your items, but if you don't want to mess with shipping, you can just leave it local pickup, and that's what I'm going to do for the purposes of demonstration. For Facebook Marketplace, we're not going to get into shipping, but just know that it is a possibility. If it's something you are interested in, you can work your way through this process. But I'm going to go ahead and say next. And so then this lists all of my groups. And so these are not dance costumes or anything related to dance, so I'm not going to list them in any of those places, but I'm going to go ahead and list. I clicked this check. I'm going to list in Erie County, Ohio online garage sale, and I'm also going to go down here and add to Perkins Sandusky online garage sales. And then I'm going to hit publish, and my first item is going to be live. It says it's being reviewed. It usually just takes a couple of minutes, even less than that, and it will be live on the site. Something else that I wanted to show you quickly is if you scroll down, and you'll see that I have something. Let's see here. Let's see if it's going to let me. Actually, I do not have these items anymore. I got rid of those, so I will get rid of that. But over here you have these three dots, and you see there's the option to renew a post. What it does is it kind of like moves you up in the search. You can do it, I believe, once every week, up to like 5 times. And so I went ahead and renewed that one. I'm going to renew this one. I'm going to renew all the ones that I can renew here. Like this one, it's not an option. After you do it a certain number of times, you're not able to renew again. So like this one, I just renewed it. It's not eligible again for 7 days. This one I can renew. Okay, so this one says you've renewed it 5 times. You can't renew it again. So that's just a little tip to try. Okay, this one can't renew it again. This one I have 3 days till I can renew it again. This one, I have 3 days. So it just gives you kind of an idea about what that looks like here on your screen of all of your selling items. Let's go ahead and walk through the process, and we'll create one more listing. So I'm going to say we have another item to sell, and I'm going to add photos. And this one is a book, actually. So we'll go ahead and we'll select the photos of the book. And we're going to say Blueberry Bake Shop Fiction Book. We're going to say that it's $3, and we're going to take a look. Let's find the category. All right, it's under entertainment. We're going to call it books, movies, and music. We're going to say it's in good condition, and we're going to write up a description. All right, we're going to say the irresistible Blueberry Bake Shop and Cafe book by Mary Sims's adult fiction title, good condition, hardback, and we're going to say, I don't think I put this in the last one, but you can repeat your price if you want to. $3, pick up, Perkins Sandusky. Then we're going to say next. Next. We'll go ahead and list it in those 2 additional groups. We're going to hit publish. So that gives you an idea of how quickly you can list an item. And it's also kind of interesting. The ribbon has already been listed, so it is not pending review. All right, a couple other things that I just wanted to talk about. So I had mentioned earlier on that when you're doing price research, there is a website that I like to use, and it's this one called checkaflip.com. And what you can do is you can enter your item in the search bar, and it's going to give you an idea of what items are selling for It is primarily what they're selling for on eBay. So that's something to keep in mind because um, you can't expect to go on Facebook and sell something for the same price that you could on eBay. So that's just something to bear in mind, but it's good for research. And this will become even more relevant when we're talking about eBay in a couple of weeks. So let's say you have some American Eagle jeans that you want to sell. So you go up here and you search. And it says that the average sold is $14.43 and 29% of them are sold. It says that the current listings are $13.99. So that gives you just a ballpark idea. Now, I would not go on Facebook and list my jeans for $14, $15. I'm looking down here and I'm seeing some that are more in the 7, 8, 5 range. I think it probably depends on the cut and the size as to how much you're going to get for them. But this is just going to give you an idea about how popular they are. Maybe you have some Madewell jeans and you know the exact cut. Um, Sometimes that does make a difference. So if you look here, 72% have sold for $30.76. Um, Again, this is an eBay sale price, so you're not going to be able to list your items for that price, but it gives you an idea of what they're selling for on a platform like eBay. So in this case, you may say, hey, I'd rather try eBay, see how much they go for. So let's say you have some butterfly gold Pyrex, and usually you're going to know the exact type of thing that you have, but this will give you a kind of a ballpark idea. If you just have like a little refrigerator dish, you're probably only going to sell that for $2 or $3 on Facebook. It just kind of gives you a general idea of pricing. It also lets you know if you do have something that may be a little more valuable and that would be worth trying to sell in either a specialty group or on a different selling platform. I do have to just say one quick thing about Facebook. I'm going to hop over to Facebook. I do not know if anybody else's Facebook looks like this, but some of when I signed into Facebook today, my Facebook said it had switched over to a new format. And so some of the things that I may have talked about in the first segment may look a little bit different to you. So I just wanted to mention that to you. I still think in general the process of going through a listing is extremely similar, but I just wanted to mention it because if you're looking at your Facebook and it looks a little different, it looks like they are rolling out a new Facebook, and I believe it said that the classic view will not be available very soon. So it's just something to bear in mind, and I wanted to mention it before we wrap up today. All right, we're going to go ahead and talk about some pros and cons, and I'll let you know how you can contact me if you have questions. As we wrap up our first installment of our Selling Items Online series, we're going to just recap briefly some pros and cons about Facebook Marketplace. So one of the pros is obviously that shipping is not required. I have not yet ventured into shipping items through Facebook Marketplace, but I know it is something that they are promoting pretty heavily right now, but it is not something that you have to do. Facebook Marketplace is awesome for large items like furniture, things that are going to be a lot more difficult to ship. It would be great for bikes, tents. I've seen a lot of people sell campers, things like that. You're going to reach a large audience through Facebook. It's very simple to list, and the listings are free, and there are no fees if you're not shipping your items. If you end up shipping, then you get into some fees through Facebook, and you also have to set up online payments, which is not required for Facebook Marketplace. I know a lot of people do like to use PayPal or Venmo or some of those things, especially now when they're looking for touchless ways to receive payment, but a lot of my transactions are still good old-fashioned cash. People will leave money, on my porch or things like that. They'll get the item and then put the money under a planter or something like that. So cash still works perfectly fine for most people on Facebook Marketplace. Some of the cons or the negatives about Facebook Marketplace, just the need to meet up, to set up a time. Sometimes that is the biggest hassle, is coordinating schedules. And, occasionally you'll get people that are coming from a little bit farther out of town. And that is challenging sometimes to find a good place to meet up and coordinate those things or arranging for pickup or drop off. And that's going to be especially challenging and difficult if you do have a larger item. It can also be a little bit tedious managing the questions and messages. Um, you will get probably a lot of questions about your items, assuming they are something that's in demand. And you kind of have to keep track of the comments on the posts versus the messages that are coming in through Marketplace. Because if you list on Marketplace and then you also list in groups, you may get people reaching out to you different ways. And so sometimes that's a little bit difficult to keep track of. You kind of along those same lines, just keeping track of the items that are listed in multiple places, making sure to adjust prices, kind of check in on all of those places. I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes I have a hard time getting to my notifications. It'll say that I have a notification, but it doesn't take me directly to it. And so sometimes that is a little bit difficult as well. I do think Facebook Marketplace is a little bit more of a garage sale style format. I think people are looking for a deal, and I think you're going to be more likely to sell your items if you're willing to sell them for a good price. Often you will get people that want to make you an offer, for less than you're asking, that type of thing. You may be able to make more money on other platforms, but that's something that you kind of have to weigh the pros and the cons. I think I didn't really put this on the pros, but I do think it can be one of the faster ways to get rid of your items. And so I think that is something well worth considering. All right, so thank you so much for watching the first session of our Selling Items virtual series. Our next topic will be eBay, and that will be available beginning Wednesday, September 30th at 7 p.m. If you have additional questions, you can reach out via our contact form. It is sanduskylib.org/contact-us, and those questions will get routed directly to me. I hope that you found this helpful and you feel like you can get started on Facebook Marketplace. And I will look forward to talking with you again soon with our next topic of eBay. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.